What's up, folks? Welcome to the best family outdoor show. Today we're going to be winterizing this RV, but with just air, using a hand pump, like a regular bike pump. So I'm going to show you a method where you can winterize an RV anywhere, like this storage lot with no facilities. First off, before winterizing, what you want to do is empty your hot water tank of water. Otherwise, when it gets frozen temperatures or when it gets freezing temps, your water tank is going to crack. And I actually have a water tank in my backyard that's cracked. I can show you how it looks. So we'll do that afterwards, but right now, follow me here to the hot water tank. You can do this afterwards, but it's important to do it. So I'm just going to do it first, because I don't want to forget. Although forgetting is pretty hard. So if you look at these water tank covers, water tank is in here. This is the cover. It's held on by this tiny little clip where you rotate. You see how right now it's horizontal? You pull it out, it's a spring, and you twist it. Once it's twisted vertically, the tank cover just comes right off, like that. This is the tank. Some of these water tanks come with a metallic rod. This is plastic, so all I gotta do is unscrew it and I'm good to go. What's very important is to release this pressure valve before unscrewing this, because what's gonna happen if you don't is this plug is gonna pop out like a bullet, and if you're standing here and by chance it hits you, it's gonna hit you right in the gut or in the groin. All right, because look at it, it lines up to the groin. All right, you don't want that. I'm gonna say I did that once in the past, and I'm glad it wasn't on video, put it that way. So, what I'm gonna do first, pressure valve, lift it up. Make sure it's released, so nothing stupid happens, like I said, you know, things popping in your face. I have this. So again, I'm gonna use this because it works perfect. It allows me to reach in. All right, so let's adjust it to the right size. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. All right, so I'm gonna slowly undo it. And as you can see, that plug is getting kind of nasty, so I might have to buy a new one next year, depending on what happens. But I find though, these plugs can get pretty nasty before you replace it, because you only have to take them out once a year. So go slow, be steady. You can remove this plate here if it bugs you, but I don't find it's necessary. Sometimes after removing it, it doesn't really go back on right, so I prefer not to take it off. You're gonna want tiny turns, and ideally you want a better wrench, but like I said, I'm at a storage lot. I don't have the proper size, so I gotta make do and use a adjustable wrench. It is what it is, especially when you're at storage lots. Keep going. Now it's pretty loose. I can probably use my hands. There we go. Move aside. It's gonna start spewing water. There you go. That's the hot water tank draining itself. And remember, pressure release valve. If that is down, the moment you release this, it's gonna pop out like a bullet because there's gonna be so much pressure in this tank. So I just let it drip off there down to the floor. It's just water, so it's okay. While we're at it, I want to show you another thing that tends to fail. That right there is the control board for the heater. Sometimes the heater stops working, and majority of the times it's because this board has failed. You can buy these boards and replace them, but the problem is these boards are half the price of the whole heater. So sometimes it's worth it to just buy a whole complete new heater than replacing the board. But sometimes replacing the board is a better idea. So it depends on how old your heater is and how it's working. All right, folks, now we're in the RV. Remember, this is a Majestic 23A, so if you have anything similar to this, the layout should be very similar. This is the kitchen, so you know where this is. Now, if you head down right here to this compartment, right here, this is the first compartment you're going to open. It's great to use electric drills, but I find they wear out these screws too quick. These screws here, I find if I use electric drills, it drills so quick that it rounds them out. or it rounds out the wood behind it. So what I do now is I use just a regular wrench. I use my hands, and I really slowly.
That's not a wrench.
Sorry, a screwdriver. I use the screwdriver and I slowly and gently take it out. Because if you use the electric screwdriver, you'll find the wood behind it gets messed up. Because you got to do this every year, twice. You don't want the back of this wood to wear out fast. Otherwise, you're gonna have to use bigger screws, like me. See these screws here? They're bigger than the factory ones because I wore out the back of this piece of wood. So I had to upgrade the screw size to make up for it. After this, if I wear it out again, I'm going to have to basically drill the hole somewhere else. Or use even a bigger screw. Alright, anyways. These things are like drawers, right? So here it is. I'm going to pop it out like this and swing it out. And I'll leave this side on because I'm going to close it back up afterwards. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to show you a couple of things. And yes, this is really dusty because after one season of camping, it's going to look like this, alright? So right there is the back of the water tank. What we saw earlier was the front. You want to reverse everything that you see here. This red pipe is the hot water. This is the fresh water. Now, this is going to be long-winded, so stay with me here. This hot water tank, the inlet is here. So fresh water comes in through the tank, gets pumped to the hot water tank through the bottom of this inlet. And as it fills up like this, it gets to the top and water will come out of the top outlet. Right here. So, that's just how it works, okay? If you want a more detailed explanation, maybe I'll do another video. But essentially, to winterize, you want to reverse this setup. So you want to close this one, open this one, and close this one. Okay, maybe I'll explain it right now. All right, now with the opposite state of the hot water tank, you have a closed valve here to the outlet of the top of the hot water tank. On the bottom, this is the inlet. I have a closed valve now too, so that water doesn't go in. So essentially, top and bottom are now closed. You cannot get water into the hot water tank. Okay? So let's do the whole system again. Here's the fresh water right here. It's going to go through now with the current setup. It's going to go down, across. Water's going to hit here, which is the closed valve. Nothing's going to happen. So naturally, it's going to go up. And since this valve is now open, water's going to flow through here and try to go right. Guess what? It's closed. So no water's going to go through there either. It's going to keep going left now, and now straight to your taps. Which means the hot water tap is not going to be hot. The hot and cold is going to have the exact same water source at this point, which is what you want. Because when you winterize, you need to either push the water out with air or chemicals. All right? This we will do afterwards because that releases your fresh water tank. So just to reiterate, we closed this valve here, which is the top outlet, and we closed the bottom valve, which is the bottom inlet. We did that so that no water can go back in there. And secondly, we did that so that we can winterize the RV. With the current setup, when you push air or chemicals through the system, it's going to go through these pipes here and out through the taps. That allows us to push the water that's currently stuck in here out through the taps. If we didn't close these two valves, you're going to push the water in the hot water tank, which is not what you want. Alright, so we're still in the kitchen. We got this compartment done. Next compartment is this one. Now, I'm not sure about your RV, but this RV came with an air spout that allows you to winterize with air. There are other ways to do it. You can put a cap on the actual freshwater fill, but this one already has a standard air spout like a bike. See that right there?
Yeah. You can always get that installed too.
Yeah, you can always get it installed by cutting the pipes and having someone trip it for you. I have the tools for it, but if you don't, just hire someone or buy the tools. The tools are not cheap, so there's that. You can also do it without tools, but that might be the getaway to do it, and you might get problems because of that. So we're going to use that spout right there, okay? We're just going to cap it like a bicycle tire and give it a couple of pumps. So if you look at this gauge right here, see that gauge? You see it? See that gauge? Right now it's at 0 pressure, 0 psi. I'm going to pump it a couple of times and get it to about 40 psi. I'm going to release the pressure now. See that? I'm going to put it all the way hot. Left side is hot, all the way hot, okay? And as I pump this pump, I'm going to push the air out. Watch. I'm going to pump it down. And as I pump, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to pump out all that water inside the system. All that water is being forced out by this pump. You want to do it a couple more. You want to do it until it stops spurting. And remember, don't go easy on it. Because we're using a manual pump, you want to push all that water out. If you go easy, it means that you're going to get water damage. Winter damage because of frozen water. Because of frozen ice inside your lines. So what I'm doing here is pumping with a little bit of vengeance. As you can see here, I have it on one side, hot water. Because I want to focus on the red hot water lines only. You can do both, but the problem with that is you're mixing that, you're sharing your pressure now, right? And here's the tip I have. When you're done this, close it. Okay? Come back here, please. Close it. Look down at the pressure. See that pressure building up? 20, 30, 40, 40, 40. Leave it at 40, okay? Now push it back up. Watch this. Raise it out, the leftover. You see that? And then do it a couple more times. Bring it to 40. And I spray it out. And of course, if you had an actual electric compressor, this would be a lot easier because it would be able to maintain 40 psi. But unfortunately, because I'm using a hand pump, kind of hard to do that. But it works very effectively. See that? Less and less water. So I'll do it a couple more times. So next, that's the hot side. The cold side. Alright, that's pretty good. So I know a lot of you are going to say, oh, you might as well use an electric compressor. Yeah, that would be the ideal thing to use. But I'm in a storage lot with no power. So you have to use a manual method, you see? Guess what else we got to do? The vanity here, the shower, and the toilet. You see how earlier I was able to keep this open and pump? There's a problem with the toilet when you winterize because unless you have a method to keep the foot down while pumping, you're going to have to pressurize and release the pressure by pushing the valve of the toilet. Or if you had an assistant, like the person behind the camera, to hold it down for me, that would be great. The only problem with that is, when you have that valve left open, smells generally come up from the toilet. So that assistant has to be brave. And in this video, I think it might turn out that I'll be the assistant, and my assistant will pump it. Because my assistant doesn't want to smell toilet stuff. So, that being said, we're going to move on to the shower now, okay? So I'm going to open up the hot water tap on the shower. Close this tap because I like to do one at a time. Pump some pressure. You hear it coming out. There we go. Spraying out right there as I pump it. So you can unscrew that to ensure that, well, you always want to unscrew that. Reason being, because of the way the shower head pipe is set up, water is always going to collect in the bottom and it will freeze. So you see that? You want to leave it downwards like that, so that way all the water comes out of that hose. Otherwise, you're going to have a surprise. Now, any more water?
You keep on pumping out, please. Yeah, still more water.
How much water comes out? I'm pumping like crazy right now. 1 pump, 2 pump, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Close that hot water valve and turn on the other one.
The cold?
Whatever the other one is.
Okay.
Now we're gonna follow through with more pumps. You ready? 1 pump, 2 pumps, 3 pumps, 4 pumps, 5, 6, 7. I'm just pumping like this, non-stop. You hear that noise? It's happening. Close both, and then we'll open it. You ready? You do the cold one first. I'm gonna pump it to 40 psi, okay?
Okay.
Pressure rising. Okay, release one of them. You can straight up.
No.
Okay, close the other one.
Okay.
Good?
Yep.
Okay, 30 psi, 40, release.
Okay, it's good.
Good? Okay, to the vanity.
Okay, to the vanity. Okay.
Right now it's closed. You need to help me open one of those taps. Let's start with the left side. Pumping. Coming out.
Yep.
Pumping. I'm maintaining 40 psi here. So we're gonna now do the cold side. Woo. Cold side.
Big.
Nothing?
Yeah, water's coming up.
Give me the camera. Okay, I'm showing you what I'm doing here. I'm maintaining 40 psi. I'm gonna shake a little bit. You see that? I'm maintaining the psi by pumping slowly.
Yeah, I'll hold it.
You see that water spraying out? So right now it's at 20 psi, but I'm maintaining it by keeping the pressure up slowly. And you see that water spraying out? All I hear is now air. Close them and do one last high pressurized spray. Okay. Open it. Water or no water?
Water.
Now the toilet. I'll do the toilet. So, want to stay here? I want to do the toilet now. I'll do it myself because my assistant. So I'm going to pump it to 40 psi. Okay, I'm at 40 psi, okay? See that? Yours flushing it out. So, the good thing is, this toilet is nice and clean, and the black tank is emptied, so my assistant can hold the pedal. It's not gonna smell that much. Okay, one tip I give you is on this, okay? Okay, see this vent up there? It is not on, okay? Look at the toilet. It's open. So, most people think, oh my god, I'm gonna turn the vent on. It's gonna make it smell less. No, it doesn't, sucker. When you turn the vent on, it's gonna create a vacuum and suck all the air out of the toilet outwards into your face. So don't turn the vent on. Don't be like it. Okay? So I'm gonna pump it now. Ready?
Okay.
Get rid of all that toilet. Close this so I can pressurize it. Okay, I'm pumping it up. 30 psi. Okay, go for it. Unleash it. Any water?
Yeah,
Okay.
a little bit. Yeah.
Again. We can close this back up. We're kind of done with this, but not yet. I'm going to show you one last thing we got to do, which is with the pump. Okay. Okay, just to show you proximity-wise, kitchen's here, bed's here. This RV has one more compartment to service. It's under the bed, right here. So let me sit down, unscrew this compartment right here, and I'll show you what's underneath. Our SureFlow water pump, okay? I don't know if you can see that, but you can't really see it. Okay, I'll try to get an angle later. So the first thing I'm going to do is unscrew this fresh water intake, because I find some water leaks out always, and by doing that I save myself a new water pump sometimes. So let's see what comes out. There might be some water, and if we did it right, nothing will come out. We'll see. Boom, couple of the drips. You see that? Drips came out, which is why I'm always curious about it. And I'll see if I can get a picture of this. Oh, good, you could. You see that little mesh? I'm gonna unscrew that, and unfortunately I can't really unscrew it on camera, but you basically unscrew it by turning it left. That mesh I showed you, I recommend you to take it out, because sometimes it does crack, but I know when it cracks and when it doesn't, because I've screwed it before and had it crack, which is why I'm gonna leave it on, because I know it's not gonna crack this time. I once winterized and I didn't unscrew the cold water intake from the water pump, and basically it left some water in there, and that mesh strainer filter on the hot water tank cracked, and I bought a new one for like 20 bucks. Not a big deal, right? But my point is, if you want to be 100% safe, unscrew it. But I'm good to go like that. When you winterize an RV, the two things that are going to cost you the most money is the pump and the hot water tank. So the pump is about $250 to $300 something, depending on which pump you get and how powerful you want the pump. Hot water tanks are usually about 600 bucks plus install and all that stuff, $850 to $1,000 total. So I have everything done now in terms of the winterization. All I got to do is drain the freshwater tank and the low points, it's called. A bit messy, but if you look here, that is a low point valve, which I will turn and open. Water will pour out from the bottom, okay? And there's another one right there, and that is a hot water low point. So I'll turn, okay, and here's the hot water low point, and I will just turn it right there. This one's a bit tight. There we go, turned. So what you're gonna get is water dripping out of there. All the lines should technically be above that point. So right now what you're getting is water left over in the lines dripping downwards. So all those tiny drips that we had in the tap is all good at this point. Lastly, the thing in there is a fresh water tank. We have to drain it. So we're gonna turn this and boom, water comes out like that, because it's kind of broken for this one. That's what's happening here. It's draining out from the bottom of the tank out of that spout. And that's also near the low point drains, right? Which is right there in the top. So you kind of just let that drain. And when it's done, your freshwater tank is empty. Now that the hot water tank has been emptied of all water, you want to put this right here, so that when summer comes or spring comes, you don't have to look for that. While the fresh water is draining, you want to close this up. So what you do is you align this tab vertical, pull it back hard, and make it horizontal, and there we go. Okay, so we did the air pumping so that there's no water in the lines. One thing to be very careful about is your RV fridge. If you have any moisture in here before storing and your doors are closed, come spring you're going to have a mold fest. You do not want that, because your fridge is going to be so dirty that it's going to be disgusting to put food in there. So what you want to do is just give it a good clean like I have, just because it's a good idea. You don't have to, but it's a good idea. But the important point is to leave the doors open. That way any moisture dries up. And come summer, you don't have any mold problems.
You won't rust up your fridge too.
Yep. And number two, another one that people don't mention is bleeding out the lines of propane. So this stove here is connected to a propane tank in the RV. What I'm going to do now is show you how to turn it off and then afterwards I'll bleed the lines so there's no propane stuck in the lines. Okay, this is the propane compartment for this RV. I'm going to turn it all the way to the right, like this, so it's off. This is a gauge actually, it tells you how full it is. 3/4 is full, because 80% is all you can fill these tanks by regulation. So I'm turning it and turning and turning it. It takes a while to close it completely. And this is a regulator, by the way. Sometimes they fail and you have to buy a new one. But if you bleed the lines out, it's less likely to fail. Going back in. Here's the stove. What you could do is just bleed it out if you want, but if you're scared of the fumes, turn one on and burn it. And basically, when that flame shuts off, you have exhausted all the propane that's stuck on the lines. Now the lines have no propane in there, which is good. All right, and again, this is another thing that people don't do often, but I think it's a good idea. For these Class C RVs, leaks usually pool in the front there, okay? And in the winter, sometimes things thaw and you don't know if it's leaking or not. So what I do is I like to put these cushions on top of each other, like this. Grab it, pull it back. All right, what does that do? Let me show you. When you pull it back, you get a gap right here, right? So if water does leak from the top of the RV down to here, it'll evaporate. If you have this mattress over there covering the water that does pool up, if you get a leak, it's gonna dry up by absorbing in the mattress, but in the end, you're gonna get a bunch of mold down there because the bottom of the mattress will likely trap the moisture in, and you're gonna get a crap load of mold. So to avoid that situation, you just make a little bit of a gap, like so. So when you winterize these RVs, you want to make sure you pour some antifreeze into the sinks, the toilet, the shower, and everything else, because there are P-traps under here, and the P-traps hold water. And if you don't put any antifreeze into these P-traps by pouring antifreeze into the sinks, it might freeze. In the winter, you're likely not going to come visit your RV often at a storage lot, or use it much at all, because it's in the winter. So what you want to do is take out the batteries and put it somewhere where you can maintain them. Or if you have it, say, parked in your driveway, you can put a battery maintainer on them that charges it really slowly throughout the winter. But this is a storage lot, so I don't really have a choice. I'm going to take out the battery from this front compartment and also the RV battery in the back. I'm going to pull this battery out. Look right here. There's a tiny, I think it's like a 9mm bolt. A size 8. That is it. Size 8. Alright, so we're going to take these terminals out first. That way, you get electrocuted. You don't really have to, but be 100% on the safe side. Take these out. Starting with the negative. There we go. You want to use these wrenches that are sized right, otherwise you round out your screws. I don't like doing that. There we go. And this is a number 8 wrench. So you take it out slowly, like that. Then you can release the negative. And what you could do if you want to be safe, if you want to be 100% safe, you can use something that, like an insulator, such as that, and make sure that the negative doesn't connect with the negative connector, and that way you're pretty worry-free at that point. So you want to just slowly take off both these bolts, number 8 wrench. Just loose enough so that you can lift it, like that, and then you can proceed to taking off the battery. What I got here to take the battery out is that, an extension, and a number 8 socket. The reason why is because if you have the number 8 socket down like this, and you put that there, you can't really do it because the wrench won't reach inside. See that? So what I do is I put this on a socket, which allows me to reach in like so, and then untorque it from the top, and just keep undoing it, because once it's done, and you'll feel it right away. All it's doing is taking off a little bracket. I'm using my fingers to do the rest because it's quicker, and if you look, it's just a bracket that holds it down. Okay, take this bracket, put it away somewhere, likely put it back in there afterwards when the battery's out. Okay, so now all we gotta do now is pull this battery physically off. Put that negative terminal somewhere. And one thing you want to do is push this away somewhere, because I find it gets caught when I lift it. So it's a good thing I have an assistant right now to help me. So ready? The battery is just a freestyle battery now at this point, right? So I'm gonna pull it out. Now it's out. I'm gonna show you how the bracket works. The bracket just sits like this right here. Not like that. You see how the bracket has an edge like this? And just look at the battery down here. So you see the battery, how it has a little notch in the bottom? All it does is it sits like that on the edge of the notch, and then you screw it down so it doesn't move, okay? And just screw it back down lightly, so that when summer comes, I'm not hunting for this. A couple of times is fine, so it doesn't move in the winter, in the wind or whatever. Okay, and that's it. Take off this insulator, because there's no battery anymore. Nothing is powered. So remember, that's the engine battery. There's still one more battery you gotta take care of, and that's the coach battery, which is in the back, the RV battery. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna do the RV battery now. Usually I do the batteries first, and then the water last, because this happens, a big pool of water. I didn't think of it earlier when I was doing the video, but it's not gonna kill you. It's just the floor is wet and you get all muddy. I got a few more RVs to do, so I don't really want to muddy myself up. So that right there is the coach battery. I have to pull it out. Pretty rusted. Sometimes these can be annoying to pull out. Like this one. Much easier. Yeah, there we go. I can probably pull it out from here. So what I'm going to do is take off these big bolts and then pull it out. What you want to keep note of is your negative and positive terminals. So you can see here that you got a red wire and a black wire, so you're good to go. You know which one's negative, which one's positive. $14 from memory. Yes. Okay, so we'll do the positive first, negative first. Let's go with negative. Just because. There you go. Doing this without a wrench would be very tough, by the way. Okay, so I got that one loosened. I'll use my hands for the rest. Put that somewhere where you won't lose. You're gonna put that back onto the battery afterwards. So here's the positive, which I will take out, like so.
You didn't take it out, so then you will get electrocuted. Huh?
It's fine. There you go. As you can see, it's fine. So.
Yeah, but you got electrocuted a little bit.
No, it's just a little spark. It didn't get electrocuted.
Okay.
So what I have here is a water bottle. You can put whatever you want here. I'm just ghetto, so I put a water bottle here so the battery doesn't move, because you can fill it with air, then press it in. I have a bit of styrofoam here, keep the battery from moving. Doesn't matter what you put here, as long as you fill this space so your body doesn't bounce around and move around. Alternatively, you can put a battery strap around this, but I have found this RV was fine without a battery strap because I made it really compressed. Okay, now that's done. You're gonna lift it up and out. All right, that's not out enough. One more pull. Okay, that's the most it's gonna go. If you look at it, the reason why is because of that little bracket there. This RV came with a lock for this compartment for the battery. I had to cut out the lock because they didn't give me the lock to unlock the battery, so I had to cut it. And because of that, this is the farthest it will go out because the lock is still there after I cut it. So just gotta squeeze it out like so and pull it out. You might run into this problem too because the lock might be there from factory if you purchased it used. So just try to remove as much stuff in the way and then pull the battery out slowly. They're pretty heavy batteries, so be careful. Don't let it squish your toe. Okay. Boom, battery's out. I'm gonna leave my compression tools in here so that I can reuse them next year in case I don't have any water bottles. And here's the rustiness that I gotta push back in. Maybe next year I'll spray some WD-40 in it. Don't got any on me right now. Okay, so that's it. Batteries are out. And these batteries have nuts. Make sure you put them back on, otherwise you're gonna lose them in all likelihood. Okay, now you gotta pack these up in the car and that's it. That's how you winterize a 23A Majestic with just air. Alright folks, that's the last step, which is the RV coach battery. I'm going to take it out, bring it home, and put it on a battery maintainer for the whole winter. That way, come spring, I don't have to buy a new battery. Because if you leave it uncharged or outside the winter, what's going to likely happen is your battery's going to get swollen and you're going to need a new battery because it's not going to be good enough and it won't hold the charge. So, I hope that helped you. Remember, I just used air to winterize the RV only. So if that helped you, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see future content like this. Until next time, happy RVing. Peace out.